Jesse,
Yes.
you went to Shaolin to discover Kung Fu.
Yeah.
When was it and how long did you stay?
Well, you know, I've had this dream in my head ever since I was a kid to go to the Shaolin temple in China, because I heard that karate, which is what I've been practicing my whole life, has some kind of roots in China. And I've seen these kung fu movies ever since I was a kid, and I knew that I had to visit the Shaolin temple. But actually, turns out there is not, you know, there is the big Shaolin temple that you see on TV, but there is also another smaller Shaolin temple in the south of China, and that is actually where the roots of karate can be found. So I just decided to go there and check it out for myself, and what I discovered was pretty mind-blowing.
What do you mean?
Turns out there are two main sources of martial arts that came from China to Okinawa, the birthplace of karate. The most famous one is called White Crane Kung Fu, and that's what you see in the Karate Kid, you know, the movie, when they do the, you know, that kind of jump kick thing. So everybody knows about that. So that's what I started with. I went to visit these masters of different White Crane schools in China, and I found original kata that we still do today in karate, like Nippai Po or Pappuren or Sanshin. These are kata you can even see in Olympic level competitions, and they still exist in China. But of course they are way different compared to what we do today. They are actually much more complex. And I found out that White Crane comes from the southern Shaolin temple, and that's where I actually found the second style of karate, that, style of kung fu, that then influenced the roots of karate. And it was really difficult because the Shaolin temple burnt down, so nobody could really find it. But after a while I discovered that some monks had fled from the temple before it burnt down, and they went into hiding in an incense shop where they manufactured the incense for the temple. And that's where I discovered the second style, known as incense shop boxing. And that's where we find the roots of other styles like Shotokan or Shorin-ryu, and by extension even Taekwondo and Tang Soo Do. And you can see the way they move in the body mechanics that this is actually where those styles come from. So I managed to track down two sources, which consisted the framework through which karate unfolded.
Did you have fun training there?
Oh wow, I had a blast. It was so crazy because I had never done any kung fu before, right? So when I came there, I didn't really know what to expect, but they were very open-minded, and I was super surprised because the trip went way above my expectations. I thought I would have to dig deep and find these different masters up in the mountains, but they were actually very friendly and open because there are not many Westerners actually visit them to discover these things, but they are there training freely and open to share everything with you if you're just humble and bring some gifts.
In karate we have many different styles. What would be the closest one to what you saw there?
So actually, the White Crane Kung Fu, which is what I first discovered, is where the roots of Goju-ryu and Uechi-ryu styles come from, and also some other styles that are less known, like Ryu-ryu or Toon-ryu. And some of these same kata are still being practiced today in karate. And then the other style, the Southern Shaolin style, also known as incense shop boxing, is where I discovered katas like Seisan and Goju Shiho, for example. So you could say that that's kind of the roots of Shotokan karate, which would be the closest equivalent. Especially when you look at the body mechanics. In White Crane Kung Fu, you use your body like a whip. But in the Shaolin style, you use your body like a lever. So when one hip goes to the front, the other hip goes back, which is kind of the Shotokan way of using the body. And these roots are can still be found in China. They have not been lost.
What surprised you the most?
I gotta say, this might sound funny, but actually the food surprised me, because I love food, right? And here in the West, the Chinese food is kind of greasy, but in China it was super delicious. Maybe because I ate at these different masters' homes. Maybe the home-cooked food is different from the restaurant food, but apart from the martial arts, that's actually what surprised me the most.
And in your practice, what did you learn? What did surprise you?
Well, actually, I learned a lot of things that I started to incorporate into my karate practice. And one of the simplest things is actually this idea of sitting down into your techniques to connect your whole body. So what you want to do is tilt your pelvis into a posterior pelvic tilt. and then you will contract your glutes, and that guides your pelvis into an anatomically stable position. That's how you can connect your whole body from the ground, feet, to your center, what they call dantien or tanden in Japanese, into the target or the opponent. And once you understand that hip tilt mechanic, then everything changes and you become super stable. So that whole idea of sitting into your movements is something that I started to incorporate and teach more. But of course there were other things as well, especially the old school kata that I have now started practicing too.
Did you do any kumite?
Well, they don't really do kumite as in free sparring, but they do kata applications, what we call bunkai in Japanese. And that's actually the first thing you start learning. The first thing they want to do is teach you self-defense, and then you mimic those movements in their solo expression, and that's how kata was actually created from the beginning. Today we first learn a kata, and then we have to figure out the meaning of the movements, but originally it was actually the reverse.
So you want to go back again?
Oh, I can't wait to go back, but first this virus has to die down because safety comes first.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, my pleasure.